te whatalo whatumlo whalalo e whawhonganga le tino ne tai au. Swinga o tatou pokala me whiwhi e wha ailoa atu ia mesi o tō o lo whanongongo mo le tasi o te sima le tasi ia mo tō lungo o tatou media, me le social media. Ma wha tasi nei ma le sunga ia Barbara Edmonds. Ia o le ministerial o le Department of General Affairs. Ia mo le Pacific, Minister of Pacific Peoples. Whatalo o whio o le minister.
Thank you so much for having me. A lot's changed since we last talked.
I can see that your shoulders are sort of starting to bend with all the burden.
Oh, no, that's just me from my Christmas, eating too much on Christmas.
No, congratulations. We're
Thank
very
you.
proud of you, Barbara. It's very nice to see that you've achieved, and not only that you've got these portfolios, you're also a cabinet minister inside of cabinet.
Yes, yeah. It was a shock for me when the Prime Minister Chris Hipkins told me on the phone the night before, because it's only been 3 weeks since Jacinda resigned.
Yes.
You know, so a lot has happened in 3 weeks. You know, we've got a new Prime Minister, a new leader, a new Prime Minister. He reshuffled his cabinet. I got appointed into cabinet. I had my first cabinet meeting on Wednesday. So it was a real privilege, you know, to sit where I sit at cabinets, right at sort of at the back of the circle, and then I look directly opposite me is Carmel Sepuloni, you know. So it's for the two of us, obviously with Carmel, it's a huge elevation for our Pacific people that she's
clear view of the chair that you might end up at one day.
That's a long way away, but I'm just very, very thankful to have been given the position and the seat at cabinet. You know, as Lua Manuvau Dane Winnie Laban would say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I avoided that.
No, when I saw the first thing, I thought, I must check up the list, and I saw that your inside said, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's where we should be. So if you look back on all the history, the dreams of our forefathers, not only that we get the families look after, supported in Samoa, but get the kids educated and then get into where the decisions are made, and you're there now. Well done.
Thank you. My father flew down from Okolangi on Wednesday, last Wednesday, for my swearing in with the Governor General. And, you know, afterwards we had some me'ai. He came back to my office with my brother and sister, and he kind of looked around. He's like, I never would have dreamed of this when he came to New Zealand in 76 with Mum. And for him, you know, his wish was always for us just to finish school. So we've surpassed that. And hopefully, you know, it'll just be something that now I believe it's our generation's turn to now return the service of our family and our parents.
So I was just wondering the process of our appointments. Did Chris Hipkins discuss this with you beforehand, or did he went through his list and look at the people in front of him and say, yeah, she's the one they should be looking after this?
He didn't talk to me about it at all beforehand. And what would normally, I mean, I don't actually know what happened, but what normally happens with such leadership, you know, decisions, he normally has his closest people. So I assume that the Deputy Prime Minister was there, Carmel. And then, yes, it very much is a skills-based, looking at who he can bring in. Also some diversity, you know, but at the same time, he needs people who can do the job. So, I just found out the night before, and then we have to get it signed off by our caucus.
I thought that he might give you inland revenue, given that your background, you know, tax lawyer, and I thought, but I think where you are now is much better than being behind looking after all this, collecting taxes.
I mean, the thing is, as long as you're at the table for cabinet, you have some influence around it. The other aspect for me is because I'm a new minister. The portfolios I have are also very good portfolios for ministers to get their teeth into, to be able to get accustomed to the decision making required at that level. Yeah, so the last day and a bit, I have been doing a ministerial induction, with the other new ministers, with the department, Prime Minister and Cabinet, etc.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what sort of training does a new minister have to go through? But induction is part of that.
It's called life. It's your life experience, really, that you bring to the table. But obviously there is some sort of logistical things around government processes, etc., that we're learning over the next day and a bit. I've been fortunate, like I've said, I've worked in the Beehive for 5 years with different ministers, so it's not unfamiliar to me.
Correct.
But it's always good that you just sit there, you listen, and you never know what you'll learn. Yeah.
And what are the government priorities that they've changed now since with the reshuffle and with Chris Hipkins being at the helm?
Yeah, so most members will remember that last year Jacinda said to her ministers to have a think over the summer about all their program of work, all their projects, and to have a think about what we can achieve, because, as Chris Hipkins said earlier this week, he's heard, we've heard that people think we're doing too much. So about 4 different particular projects have been changed. But number one was we increased the minimum wage, so that went up by $1.50. The TVNZ Radio New Zealand merger, so that's been deferred. The biggest thing for us, obviously, your Samoa Capital Radio, you have a particular community that you communicate to.
Yes.
So for us ministers, is making sure that we still have that capability to be able to support those voices, those different voices. And that was the whole reason of the merger in the first place, was we felt like those voices weren't strong enough. But obviously that's something that we've pushed back, taken off the table, sorry. Then we've also got 3 waters, so the pipes and infrastructure. We still agree something has to be done, but obviously the pace in which it's happened, and with working with the local authorities, Porirua we're fine, because Porirua has been really supportive.
Yes.
So for me, is to make sure I'm contributing quite intensively to that process, because we need 3 waters here. But so Minister McAnulty's going away and is going to rethink about that and how it looks. We've also taken hate law speech work. That is no longer, we've withdrawn the bill, but we've given it to the Law Commission, because there was particular aspects of that particular law or bill that needed to be worked through better. Yes. So the Law Commission have now been referred back to them. And the last one is the biofuels mandate.
Yes.
So that's also been taken off. The concern there is for the Prime Minister is that the impact on fuel costs if we bring that mandate through now, because it'll bring up diesel and petrol costs, and it's already a really tough time for families. So those are the changes that were made earlier this week. So,
are there any initiatives in your portfolios that have been impacted with the government's decision?
No, actually, if anything, there will be something that I'll announce in the near future, which actually will help parts that have been taken away.
Right.
But I can't announce that just yet. I've learned that already. Just wait, be patient. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say, so obviously with the new rejecting of these things, you probably have a sort of look at all the programs on the way at present.
I think it's that's something any new minister should do anyway. Sure. Yeah. So obviously when I became the minister last week, I spoke to my new CEOs. I said to them, these are the extra papers I want to be able to read. And then I've sat down with them to discuss my particular views on things. This afternoon I'll be meeting with the Secretary for Ministry of Pacific Peoples, Geraldine Clifford-Lidstone. I met with her last week very briefly, and then today we'll have a bit more time to look at that work program and to look at the direction that I want to be able to take Ministry of Pacific Peoples.
And are you still keeping your other position, the chair of the finance expenditure?
No, you can't.
Once you're a minister,
I've been promoted. Yeah. No, so I'm not anymore. Not the chair of the Finance Expenditure Select Committee.
Because you can't review yourself.
Yeah, well, you can't as a minister. It's very unusual for a minister to chair a select committee. You know, it looks a bit greedy, but no. But also, we've got a really good environmental lawyer, Rachel Brooking, who is now the chair of that committee, and she's from Otago. But for me, it's obviously when you're at cabinet table, you will listen to. You'll hear almost every policy come through. I must say, though, even though acknowledge Opito Sua William Seal, even though he was outside of cabinet, he had a pretty major influence in the papers that came through. You know, he's really established a strong foundation for me, so that when I'm looking at the program for Ministry of Pacific Peoples, there's almost a strategy. He's developed a strategy for every single key area for Pacific people. So for me, it's to be able to now say to my new team and say, okay, what is the best way we action these strategies, and how do we make sure that we're achieving that? Because for our Pacific people, it really is just looking right through, you know, like we have with the floods. You know, that's why we support the likes of whānau ora through Te Whatu Ora Health, where we have a Pacific Directorate. So now it's just strengthening a lot of those bases that Opito has developed and strengthened. And, you know, he's the most successful Minister of Pacific Peoples, if you think about money-wise. You know, $500 million he's been able to receive for investment in Pacific initiatives. So big year ahead for me, but I'm very grateful to Samoa Capital Radio's opportunity that I've been able to still come here and have this talanoa with you.
No, we saw that you ended up being a minister because you fostered that relationship. And now
you knew, you heard it here first.
So, Barbara, obviously, you know, busy, you know, right now with your all the portfolios. And you're obviously looking at some of the programs, reviewing some of them, whether they still are effective. And, you know, congratulations, and hopefully that everybody will be working together to achieve what your vision of your ministry. So have you got any vision of where you want to lead these two big organizations?
For me, it really is what the Prime Minister said about going back to the basics.
Yes.
You know, I've got the Department of Internal Affairs that has all the identity services for New Zealand, you know, births, deaths, marriages, passports. You know, it's making sure that these ministries and departments do what they've been given the mandate to do, but do it really well. So going back to those basics, supporting our Pacific people so they can be prosperous and they can thrive. You know, being able to support the services so our people, if they need to be able to get their citizenship, their passports, that they get it in a timely manner. So for me, I'm really when I'm looking at the programs over the next week or so, it is really about, okay, what is the core business of these ministries, and making sure we do them well, because that's how government functions. And sometimes if there's a lot on, you can forget to do what your actual job is. So I just want to make sure that I shepherd that through over the next sort of 9 months up to the election.
Yes, and then you've got the pending election, so obviously you're trying to keep your eye on this year as well as also trying to plan for the election.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I told you I'm the deputy chair of the nationwide Labour campaign.
Oh, right.
So right. Megan Woods is the chair and I'm her deputy.
So I see.
Yeah, so it's a big responsibility, but for me it's making sure I learn the whole process behind the nationwide campaign. She is a formidable campaign chair, Megan Woods, and a minister. Yes. And so obviously I've got associate housing as well. That's really important for us here in Mana. So being able to learn off Megan as the Minister of Housing and then be able to learn off her as the campaign chair, I'm just, I feel very, very humbled and privileged to be able to have these opportunities.
Two women at the helm of that important role.
Well, you know.
I'll let you know what you know. There's that saying in Samoa.
Yes, that's right. I'm not going to change that.
No, very good. Well, Barbara, because I know this is our first interview and you're very busy today. And thank you for coming in and having these chats. I know you have to make way to town to catch up with your other appointments. But we'll try and structure some interviews going forward so that we can have this Korero every now and again.
Of course, yeah. And probably just two things I'll leave the listeners with. One is the Pasifika Festival in Wellington. Correct. Is on tomorrow at Waitangi Park. I will be there, but there's lots of our services providers will be there. So head down there. That's from midday, the official opening. And then the second thing is, as you've seen on the news that you've been talking about as well, is Cyclone Gabrielle.
Yes.
That's due to hit New Zealand, they say, over Monday and Tuesday. We need our people to be prepared, especially if you're in the northern blocks, but us here in Wellington as well. Make sure we have enough water and food for 3 days, because you never know how that cyclone's going to move. And as we've seen in Auckland, it's only been 2 weeks since the Auckland floods. It can happen really quickly. So just ask our viewers to be mindful of that cyclone coming through. Yeah.
All right. Well, all the best for today.
Thank
and then
you.
We'll catch up in the near future and you have some more chat on the...
Yeah, we definitely will.
And if you can't make it yet because you're too busy, we'll talk on the phone.
Yeah, I'll pick up. Thank you, Whawhatai
Ia, whaatai lava. Ia, o tātou tanoanga nā mo le whionga le minister, o lo tele tutuangi ni tai au. Isi teimi o le tātou pukalami le afoleiva. La whaamamlama toi nisi o vaanga ni le tātou ngan Sāmoa. An teimi nei, tātou wheloa isi teimi o le afoleiva. Ia, to whāsui